I have been called upon to speak about Sri Lanka's Tamil Sinhalese ethnic conflict alternative solutions. I'm quite pleased to be with all of you, the intellectuals who are going to be the cog in the wheel, so to say, in the administration and governance of modern India, modern Bharat. So all of you are going to be tomorrow's leaders of this country, great country. Today, India is not what it was when I used to first come here nearly 50 years ago. It's a changed country. It's a very powerful country. And you have to look forward to more and more towards your unity than anything else. Because Sri Lanka has, with two languages, unable to unite. You have some over 200 languages here, so many religions here, so many cultures, such varied geographical landscapes, and still for all, I have found when any one of you come abroad or to a conference, you're very proud to be an Indian. I don't think the Sri Lankans, I don't think the Tamil Sri Lankans feel the same way. We have been deprived, we have been discriminated against, we have been the subject of death, damage and destruction. So therefore, we are concerned whether we are part of a great country, Sri Lanka. But still for all, we have to find ways and means of humanity coming together, whatever may be our differences. Just as much as India has been able to forge ahead, bringing disparate people together and have brought about a unity in the minds of all Indians to feel themselves proud to be Indians. Now, when you say Sri Lanka's Tamil Sinhalese ethnic conflict alternative solutions, I would like to relate it to all of you. Most of you are higher degree or doctorate students or those who are in the process of doing your doctorate. So, how do I relate it to you? Now, first of all, a few words with regard to Sri Lanka's Tamil Sinhalese ethnic conflict. This conflict is the result of a wrong perception of the Sinhalese with regard to their history. Now, when I was in college, we used to do history in the 1950s, history of Sri Lanka in 1950s. When it came to 1960s, after the Sinhala only Act in 1956, they stopped teaching history, Sri Lankan history or Ceylon history to the students. They called it civics, they called it social studies and whatnot, and added a little bit of history here and there. The reason was there had been a lot of falsities that had been brought in the perception of the people with regard to their history. As far as my studies go, I also was a student of history before I took up the law. As far as my studies go, there are three things that need to be kept in mind. One, the story of the Mahavamsa was a fiction. Now the Sinhalese take that to be literally true. Because if you go into the story in the Mahavamsa, there is nothing in the Mahavamsa which relates or refers to the Sinhalese, the Sinhala language, nor the Sinhala people, nor the Sinhala race. There is only once the word Sihala is referred to in Mahavamsa, which is not written in Sinhalese, it is written in Pali. Sihala is the word for lion, and only once it appears and has nothing to do with a race or community or language. So this was a fiction written by a Buddhist priest called Mahanama, who says at the end of every stanza, this is being written for the glorification of Buddhism. So it was a fiction written by him in order to glorify Buddhism. So when you do not have the Mahavamsa as a source of history for the Sinhalese, then what are you left with? You are left with historical research as to when the language Sinhala came into being. And our researchers show that it was only in the 6th and 7th centuries AD that the Sinhala language came into being. It was really a mixing of Tamil, which was the lingua franca of Sri Lanka for the long years of time. Nearly 3,000 years the Tamil language has been spoken in Sri Lanka. And it was the mixing of Tamil with Pali, which was the language of Buddhism, which brought about Sinhala language in the 6th and 7th centuries. So when the 6th and 7th century, when they started speaking Sinhalese, more and more people took up to the Sinhala language, and finally what really took place was they became the majority in this country, in our country, while the Tamils stayed back in the northern and eastern provinces. So the Tamils became a minority and the majority community became the Sinhalese. Tamil language has been there for over 3,000 years, there is enough proof for that. Sinhala language came around in the 6th and 7th centuries AD, and the same people who were there in this country, they are the people who took up to the Sinhala language. And the DNA tests in recent times have shown that both the Sinhalese and Tamils belong to the same Dravidian community or Dravidian race. So when you say that they all belong to the same, it's the same people who spoke Tamil who became Sinhalese when they started speaking Sinhalese. So there is no question of, there used to be this question of Aryans and the Dravidians. I think that has been now thrown out overboard. There is no such thing. Because the word Aryan is used in order to refer to people who come from outside, guests who come. There has been misunderstanding by the Western historians, and as a result, we are paying for it with a divided country. As far as the Sinhalese are concerned today, this historical fact is not known to them. If you say this to them, they will get very annoyed and they may even kill you. Because it's like saying, if you think that your parents are X and Y, and somebody comes and says, no, your parents are A and B, how would you feel? It's just like that. Because they have been made to believe that Sinhala language is over 2,500 years old, and it was the Vijaya who came from Lala Nadu in Orissa, who were the progeny of the ascendants of the Sinhala race. And the historical books, whether it be in Orissa, in Bengal, or even Rajasthan or Gujarat, have never referred to a Singabahu or a lion being the father of a human being. Lion mated with a human woman and brought about this Vijaya is the story. But that cannot be true. And there is no historical reference to such things. If you have something, please bring it to my notice. There is no historical reference to this Lala Nadu and Singabahu and so on. And if Vijaya and 700 people had gone off from the shores of India from the eastern side and gone to Sri Lanka, that would have been there in our history books in India. There is no such thing, because about 2,500 years, 700 would have been a very big number. So this is all a misunderstanding, or what shall we say, a purposeful covering up of the history of the Sinhalese people and giving a wrong idea with regard to the people, with regard to the Sinhalese, the history of the Sinhalese. So here I would ask you all, I don't know how many of you all are doing history for your subject. Is there any person doing history among you? The higher studies in history, research? No, none. Anyway, I think it is time for people to take up to history in order to find out the ancient history of the Southeast Asian region with special reference to Sri Lanka. If you do so, you will come out, I'm sure, with regard to the same facts which I have now referred to you in this talk. And if that be so, if the Sinhalese are made to know that they are not what they think they are, if they are advised or if they are educated with regard to their past, there is a very sincere, very plausible possibility that they may change their views with regard to themselves, and therefore a possible alternative solution to the ethnic conflict could be found. Now, I am trying to say this in order to point out to you that this is one of the ways by which the Sinhalese people could be educated with regard to themselves, and therefore by virtue of the education they may be able to change their views. Today they have a very false view. What they say is the Tamils came into Sri Lanka only in the 10th century AD with the Chola conquest. Now there had been long years earlier, the Tamils from the Pandyans, Pallavas, they were all there, and there is another aspect of it which is very interesting. There are Tamils who belong to the period of the Kumari Kandam, which was the area of land which was taken into the Indian Ocean, and still there are evidence with regard to a great civilization down below under Indian Ocean. It extended from Sri Lanka to Madagascar and Perth in Australia, and that triangular piece is underneath. And this is referred to in the where it says about the first Sangam period, second Sangam period, and it was the third Sangam period in which this particular publication came in. So the first Sangam period refers to 4,440 years, second one 3,330 years, and third 1,800 years. So all those periods there has been the development of Tamil language in those areas. Now if you add it up with the Kiradi excavations that we have found and Mohenjo-daro Harappa, you will find there is a similarity with regard to the culture that existed in those areas with what is there expected to be in the under the sea in the Indian Ocean. There was Russian excavations or Russian expeditions to research with regard to what is there left of the Lemurian continent under the Indian Ocean some years ago, but Sri Lankan government stopped it. And I think the Indian government also was not quite in favor of it. So there is a very great question of research that could be undertaken by you in order to find out what lies under the Indian Ocean south of Sri Lanka. Why I mentioned about this is we have Tamils in Sri Lanka who are the descendants of those who were there during the time of the Lemurian continent. So that it is not necessary that they came from South India to Sri Lanka, but they were there existing right from the beginning of time, the beginning of history. Now they have made researchers. There are certain urns that were found in Adichanallur in South India and Pomparipu in Sri Lanka, and they have been found to be of the same culture. So the antiquity of the Tamil culture of these areas is to be taken into consideration. But then what does the Sinhalese man say? Oh, you all came in the 10th century, you took over all what we had in this country, which we belong to the Sinhalese, and we are trying to drive you out because of that. Now that is not true. All what I have told you now is the historical truth. You can go into it. All of you are intellectuals. Please do some studies, read about all these things. Then you will find out that 2 or 3 things. One, 3,000 years the Tamil language has been spoken in Sri Lanka. 2, Sinhala language came into being only in the 6th and 7th century AD. 3, Mahavansa is a fiction, and one cannot give any historical credence to the contents of the Mahavansa. Now, if all these things are brought out, then the possibilities of the Sinhalese changing their viewpoints about themselves, and also with regard to the antiquity of the Tamils, might change their viewpoints in order to bring about a change in their perceptions, and therefore it might be an alternative solution. I do not know what the persons who gave this heading had in mind when they said Sri Lanka's Tamil Sinhalese ethnic conflict, alternative solutions. Alternative solutions can be of various kinds. Basically, it should be the change of heart on both sides that can bring about any solution. So long as there are wrong perceptions about themselves and their history, how are we going to bring about change of perceptions? That is why I say, go back into history, find out what the truths are, tell them this is the truth, and if they come to understand about their past, the possibilities of a change of heart is there, and that is my suggestion for an alternative solution. I don't think I could go into any further things because all of you all are hungry, including me. So, therefore, let me conclude my speech with this. Thank you very much.